Thank you, Rabbi Prosnit, for that very warm introduction. And I think we as a congregation are incredibly fortunate, shall I say blessed, to have you as our senior rabbi and at the helm of our truly superlative clergy team. So thank you all very much. Well, good morning, everyone. Gamar Tov, Shana Tova, Shabbat Shalom. When I was discussing with Rabbi Prosnit a couple of weeks ago what I should talk about today, he said I should say something about myself. So I'm not sure how many of you had a chance to watch the new philanthropy video that was recently circulated to the congregation. I won't ask for a show of hands. It features two D-list actors, Rabbi Prosnit and me, in a supporting role. No calls from Hollywood yet. But in any case, in the video, I have a line that says, "We at Temple Emanu-El celebrate the diversity of our congregation." I think the same could be said about our temple presidents. Through the years, there has been a lot of diversity among us and many divergent paths as to how we got here. Some past presidents spent years volunteering at the temple. Others spent years attending Bible classes and Torah study sessions in order to become more scholarly. Our most recent homegrown past president wanted to become more scholarly, but at this very Yom Kippur service 2 years ago, publicly confessed that he was thrown out of Hebrew school. As for my path to the presidency, well, as some of you know, for more than 30 years, I was an FBI agent. And so my distinction is that I am the first FBI agent ever to become a temple president. And I verified that with FBI headquarters, by the way. By the way, I'm often asked, how did you get into the FBI? You see, the government has a quota for everything, and the FBI needed to hire one Jewish cellist. And I can say unequivocally that I am and only will be the only Jewish cellist in the FBI agent in the FBI. I verified that too with FBI headquarters, by the way. Anyway, more in the philanthropy video later. As we all know, the High Holy Days, very broadly, are a time for deep reflection, a time for self-assessment and introspection about our lives and ultimately how we can improve. I want to take a moment to reflect and assess how we, collectively, as a congregation, are doing. This past year, Jewish year 5784, will be remembered as exceptionally painful and challenging in light of the events of October 7th and its aftermath. But here at Temple Emanu-El, 5784 will also be remembered as a time when our congregation demonstrated remarkable strength, resilience, and support for each other and for Israel. And I have every reason to believe this will continue in 5785. I have never felt more proud to be a member of Temple Emanu-El than at this point in time. This pride has manifested itself in so many ways. When I, Rabbi Prosnit, and more than 50 other congregants, along with 500 members of the Jewish Federation's greater Metro West community, went on a trip to Israel in the summer of 2023. When I and 2 busloads of fellow congregants and our entire clergy team this past November joined 300,000 Jews at a rally in support of Israel in Washington, D.C. And perhaps the most impactful of all, when I joined Rabbi Prosnit and 14 congregants in February on a mission to Israel to bear witness and to stand in solidarity. And beginning last month, a group of women in our congregation, whose youngest child is in the post-B'nai Mitzvah age cohort, began participating in a Temple Emanu-El pilot program sponsored by the Momentum organization. The group, organized and guided by congregant Deborah Weinstein along with Temple clergy, is meeting each month to discuss Jewish values and principles with the goal of strengthening the participants' connection to Judaism at home, at our temple, and in the community, as well as to Israel. The year-long program culminates with an 8-day trip to Israel slated for November or December 2025. But my pride in our congregation goes even further than these extraordinary experiences and programs. I think it is fair to say that this past year, in spite of fears and uneasiness, we here at Temple Emanu-El showed up. We showed up at very well-attended weekly Shabbat and holiday services. We showed up throughout this past year at vigils, memorials, and events related to the horrific events of October 7th. We showed up at the march up East Broad Street, proudly displaying our new Torah. We showed up at school board meetings to condemn anti-Semitism. We showed up at our thought-provoking programming as well as at social action and social events. And we showed up at our thriving ELC and YLE programs. We proved that the meaning of Jewish identity is to show up when you are feeling uneasy and afraid, perhaps especially when you are afraid. Community, coming together, showing up, is resistance and empowerment, and can also be a huge source of comfort. And the beauty of Jewish law is that it reinforces this concept. It has forced Jews to maintain strong communities and to show up throughout history. For instance, you can't pray out loud without 9 others with you, hence the minyan. The Shiva ritual guarantees that mourners are never alone or hungry. Judaism doesn't just value community, it demands it. And with community comes the collective power to be heard and make a difference, whether at school board meetings or the rally in Washington, D.C. in November, where I personally witnessed the congressional leadership of both parties address the crowd of 300,000 people and publicly profess their united, unequivocal support for Israel. All of us together, speaking and acting in unison as a Jewish community, as Temple Emanu-El, is exponentially that much more powerful and impactful than any one of us trying to do it alone. As we approach our 75th anniversary, I see our community only getting stronger. Planning is already well underway for an amazing anniversary year filled with events, activities, and programs beginning in February 2025, the month we were founded 75 years ago, and running through December 2025. We will be honoring and celebrating the remarkable community built through the decades by visionary clergy, staff, lay leaders, and congregants, some of whom are here today, and nourished and sustained by all of you as well. Be on the lookout for more details in the coming months, and for a very special box containing meaningful items that every congregant will receive to kick off this milestone anniversary in February. And even though I love our pouring baskets, this box is going to be a step up. At the same time, we have also begun thinking about and planning for the community we envision for the next 75 years and beyond. The Early Learning Center, ELC, and YLE have outgrown their space. We had to turn away 45 families from enrolling in the ELC this year, which is not a good thing. And even though about 4 years ago, on a shoestring budget, we cosmetically refreshed parts of this building so that they all look presentable, that was only considered a temporary fix. The truth is, this building is dated. And we are at a point now where we feel our space needs to be more reflective of the values that define us, a space that is open, modern, flexible, accessible, warm, uplifting, and bright. A space that will enhance and support our efforts to bring a worship experience that is joyful, innovative, welcoming, and inclusive, with a top-notch sound system, too. Much more on this in the weeks and months to follow as our ideas and plans become a bit more definitive. But I assure you there will be ample opportunity for congregational input. So, I began my remarks referencing our new philanthropy video, and then I spoke about my pride in our Jewish community and the importance of our showing up. So, what is the connection? Well, you can probably guess. This is the part you've all been waiting for: money. It takes money to sustain the vitality and vibrancy of our temple so that we can continue to have a suitable, sacred Jewish place to show up at and a communal voice with which to speak through. The video and accompanying brochure, which you have all received, rolls out our new philanthropy program, which has several components to it, including the annual appeal. The annual appeal is essentially replacing the Kol Nidre appeal and runs roughly during the same period of time, from now until December 31st. I'm not going to bore you with a lot of details. God knows you're already bored to death at this point in my speech. But suffice it to say, while the dues we all pay are essential to keeping our temple thriving, dues alone are not sufficient to cover our operational expenses. And so we rely on our annual appeal to fill the gap between dues revenue and our expenses. If you have already made your commitment to this year's annual appeal, thank you, and you can tune out for the rest of my speech. But let me just say one thing. There are many disputed facts in the fractured world we live in. But here is one undisputed fact. We have not raised basic membership dues here at Temple Emanu-El since July 2019. That is 5 years ago, and since then, inflation, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics CPI inflation calculator, has increased 21%. But even though our expenses have increased dramatically, the Board of Trustees is trying to keep dues as low as possible in order to make our temple, this sacred and special community, as financially accessible to as many people as possible. We are therefore relying more and more on the philanthropic support of our congregants above and beyond membership dues. And so I ask all of you, if you have not already made your commitment, to please consider being as generous as possible when contacted, either by phone, email, or letter, about the annual appeal. It is only with our collective generosity that our community will continue to thrive and flourish. So we are hoping to achieve 100% participation from every member of our temple. Please join me and the rest of the Board of Trustees who have already 100% pledged, as well as our clergy and staff who also have already 100% pledged, in proudly making a generous donation to the annual appeal so that we can maintain the vibrant, dynamic, and remarkable temple we have built and sustained together. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, thank you all for joining our services today. Thank you for being valued members of this congregation. Thank you for your generosity. And may each of you have an easy and meaningful fast. Shana Tova.